Hi Bookish friends, I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and welcome to part 2 of my Feel Good Challenge. I had a lot of fun with this. This was a very interesting challenge and it definitely helped me to get in a different frame of mind, I think. Do I feel different now? After it being over, I'm not quite sure. I'm doing a few things that are better for myself, and I'm definitely trying to just kind of enjoy every day as it comes. So maybe it was a success, I don't know. I have gotten back into something that I really, really love, which is ballet. And granted, I can only do it from home, and it's a very huge work in progress because it's been a long time since I danced. It's been at least 8 years. So really, it's just trying to remind my muscles of all the pain that they can expect in the future. But I love it. It's one of my favorite forms of exercise, and it's something with all the YouTube videos nowadays I can do from home. Okay, there you go. I definitely have the sweat going, so it was a good workout. Like 38 minutes. He does really hard combinations, so please be kind. Anyways, if you have not seen the first part of this video and are curious what this whole challenge is all about, I would go ahead and check that out first. I'll put a link to the video in the cards above and down in the description box below. And without further ado, let's get on to day 5. Good morning, it's day 5, and yesterday I took Cece for a walk. It was a wonderful walk. We actually went further than we normally do, which was good. She loved it, and there were a lot of people on the path. I had to keep Cece on leash for most of it because she doesn't know how to socially distance. So it was a good walk, but it didn't necessarily feel good because there were limitations to it. Yesterday was not the most feel-good day. And I tried to film 2 videos yesterday, and both of them, I was not, like, even watching myself, I had low energy, I wasn't very animated and excited, so I scrapped both those videos. Some days we feel good in smaller ways, like really small. What I did do yesterday is I finished Wanderlove, and I actually really enjoyed it. I don't know yet what I'm gonna rate it. I gotta think about it a little bit. But this was really a feel-good book because it gave me all the travel vibes I wanted. It was so sweet, and it was cute, and she went through a bit of a transformation, which is always nice, especially when you're traveling, because I feel that travel can really be reinvigorating and renewing. There's a lot of self-reflection you do when you're traveling, and at least that I have done when I'm traveling. So I really enjoyed that. And then there was also, throughout the book, she's an artist, so there were these beautiful drawings throughout the whole book. And I really liked that a lot. I liked the characters. I really got into them after a while. The brother and sister Starling and Rowan were definitely a bit pretentious when it came to backpacking, but they grew on me. And I really, really ended up enjoying them a lot. I loved all the traveling elements. This really hit me hard in the heart because it made me want to travel so badly, and I know we can't. I'm really, really starting to miss it. And especially reading these books about travel, I'm like, oh, because I'm also reading the Bookshop on the corner, and that is about Scotland, and I'm like, oh, I need to be in Scotland. So the things that I didn't quite like about this book were that, I mean, it all wrapped up a little too well, maybe, and there was a bit of fat shaming in here that I didn't appreciate. I just don't think it was necessary. None of it was necessary. And then there were some aspects of the travel that I was kind of questioning a little bit. Like, we always tend to love traveling because we're thinking about ourselves in that moment, but you know, are you there because you're actually helping, or are you affecting this country and you're just there for your own self? They talk about this small island that they end up on, and before all the backpackers started coming, it was this little island that had 300 people living there, and then ever since this island started having backpackers, it's built up to the point where it's not the same as it was before. So we have to kind of like keep in mind what kind of footprint we leave when we travel around the world, and how much we are actually affecting the people that live there, because you can't forget that when you travel, people live there. That's their home. I feel like this book did a good job of addressing that, because I think that there were moments that kind of discussed the problematic areas of travel, and I think that in the end, though, they started discussing how they realized that those are problematic moments and how you can try and be less of a burden on those countries when you go and travel to them. So I really enjoyed it. It was perfect yesterday. It really did make me feel really good feelings. Then yesterday morning, I actually listened to the Bookshop on the Corner for quite a bit. And at this point, Nina has finally decided she's going to start her bookshop in a van. She's gone up to Scotland to pick up this van. And when she's up there, she starts to get to know people in the community. I think there might be a love triangle. I think there might be 2 love interests. The first one, his name is Merrick, and she meets him on the train because the van that she bought, she almost gets hit by a train, and he takes her back to Birmingham. And I'm not really into him. He's just not, he's not a love interest I'm that excited about. The other love interest I think might be Lennox, and she rents a room from him in Scotland when she actually finally decides to move up there. And he I like. That's the love interest that I'm interested in. I am enjoying it, and there are a lot of elements to this story that I love that I feel like, you know, I'm having a hard time turning it off. But then there are elements that I'm not enjoying. Merrick was a love interest that I was like, ugh, just go back to Scotland. I have no interest in this guy. And you know what? That also could be because I'm listening to an audiobook and it's a woman narrating the whole thing, and sometimes I get really distracted when women narrate male voices, especially the way she's narrating Merrick's voice. He sounds like Count Chocula or something. Hey, Editing Amy here to help out struggling Amy, because I was definitely very opinionated about this next thing that I didn't care for in the book. But I would like to say, I recognize that my feelings, my behavior comes from a place of privilege, because even though I didn't come from a wealthy family, I still had huge opportunities available to me, and my mother was very encouraging and always wanted me to do anything I could do in my life to better myself. That being said, the thing that I really struggled with in this was a difference in personality between Nina and myself. She is someone who struggles to make a decision and weighs all possibilities ad nauseum, mostly because the self-confidence she has in making these kind of decisions is not there for her, and I'm very sorry to see that, because I don't want to see someone struggling to feel that they are worthy of making a decision that is good for their lives. I've always been very decisive, and I would never call myself spontaneous, because I'm not spontaneous, but when I do decide I want to do something, I do everything I can to go towards that goal. And sometimes this might be considered kind of rash. I make decisions and I just do it. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I can do it. So of course, in books, I can recognize that my personality is different than other people's personalities, and that I'm not going to feel the same way about certain things. But in this particular book, with Nina's personality, I really did struggle from her indecisiveness. It pained me, and I did not have enough patience for it. I'm about 35% of the way through on that, listening to an audiobook. So I'm gonna keep listening to that. I'm gonna start on my last book today, which is the Rosie Project. I have other things I really need to get done today, though, that are not books and not feel-good stuff. So I'm gonna try and get those things done first. I have also been reading The Art of Happiness, and I wanted to give you my quote. Close relationships do, in fact, promote health, and that's scientifically proven. Intimacy is equally as important in maintaining good health. Basically, the Dalai Lama was saying that we need intimacy, we need other people in our lives, we need that connection with people to maintain good health. And I know that's true, because the times that I feel isolated, especially during this pandemic, I have felt a lot better when I've reached out and spoken to friends who I haven't talked to in a while, really tried to foster those relationships, because we're pretty limited at this point. You know, we don't get to go out, and I mean, I miss just going out and meeting a friend for a drink and sitting there and chatting and you know, like actually physically touching people. And it doesn't necessarily mean intimate in the sense that you have a romantic partner. It's intimacy with people that you care about and that you try to bring into your life and that you can share things with. So I really enjoyed reading about that because I definitely agree that a large part of happiness is the relationships that we have with people that we love. And that's why I read Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants for this feel-good challenge, because my friendships are very, very important to me, and I do try to maintain them. I know it's not great, and there are definitely friends that I have not been that in contact with recently, but overall, the people around me that I love, I try to keep in contact with as much as possible, because we have to work together through this. This has been a rough, rough time, and the only way we can get through it is by having the people we care about there to support us and for us to support them. Good morning, it's day 6, and I'm really excited because feel-good moment is already here. We got some mail, and I'm really excited to show you what this mail is all about. It's from a really good friend of ours, Jan. She's an amazing cook. She sent us a care package, one of her Christmas care packages. So, let's see. I haven't actually seen everything we've gotten yet. We love her Joe Froggers, which are these molasses cookies that are incredible, and so it looks like she sent us Joe Froggers, which both Mom and I are very excited about. This will go great with our coffee. Jan makes jams, so she sent us, ooh, persimmon cranberry. That sounds good. These look like spiced nuts. So these look like pecans, and they're probably spiced nuts. That's a cute little star-shaped bag. And then she sent us this cute little Christmas towel, which is perfect to add to our decorations for next year. Then we got 2 more things, but they are, ooh, let's see. Zen berry jelly syrup. Ooh, syrup. What is this? Yeah, it looks like it's a berry syrup, because it's, see how it's kind of wet. And this would be really good on like waffles or something like that. Ooh, or ice cream. Or pancakes. And then this one actually doesn't have a label on it, so I'm not sure what this one is, but we'll have to ask Jan. So now that I'm thinking about it, Jan recently mentioned that she made a batch of bacon jam. It's good to put on toast and different things like that. So I'm imagining that that jar is full of bacon jam. You know, that'd be good on waffles too. I need to get out our waffle maker and make some waffles.
Yeah, it's right in the bottom shelf. We can do that easily.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, look at her. That's a feel-good moment right there. And we're gonna split one of the Joe Froggers to go with our coffee this morning. We have to make them last because we only have like 6 or something of them. So I started the Rosie project late last night before going to bed. I only read about 32 pages of it. Hi, it's Editing Amy, and I'm here to help myself out because I didn't do a very good job of explaining the beginning of this story. In the beginning of the Rosie project, we are in the mind of Don Tillman, and he's a very unique character. He looks at life a bit differently than everybody else. One of the things he struggles with is social interactions. He doesn't always catch on social cues well, and because of this, he has had a hard time making relationships. So he does have relationships. He was a really good friend with this older woman, I can't remember her name right now, but he was a great friend with her, and he would go visit her. I think she was his neighbor. And at one point she ends up getting Alzheimer's, and so because she gets hospitalized for that, he doesn't quite continue that relationship because she no longer remembers him. So Don Tillman actually is a geneticist, and he works as a professor and a researcher at this school. And at the school, his best friend is another professor who, he is in the psychology department, but he's doing his research on sex, and it makes it so that he is having sex with as many different women as he possibly can. And his wife is a psychotherapist who also is really good friends with Don. So Don does have these 2 friends, and they're people that do understand him and accept him for the way he is. And one thing that Don does want is a marriage. He wants to get married. He wants to find his partner. Not necessarily because he's really feeling lonely, at least I don't get that impression. It's more because he knows that you get to a certain point in your life, you have your career, you get married, you have children, and so he wants to do those things in that order. And unfortunately, because he struggles socially, he's really, really bad on dates. He doesn't understand how some of the things he may be saying on the dates are really inappropriate and turn women off. So he knows his limitations when it comes to dating, and yet because he's a geneticist and he thinks numbers, he thinks statistics, he knows that statistically speaking, he should absolutely be able to find one woman who is perfect for him. So he has this idea that he will kind of move the process of dating along a lot quicker if he puts together this questionnaire. If these women have these qualities, then they will be perfect for him. And these are ridiculous preferences. I mean, they're not like about feelings or what you're looking for in a partner who you could enjoy and love and cherish. It's more about what exactly do I need as a person in a partner that is completely practical and completely unromantic. So he puts together this questionnaire and he starts trying to date with it. So it's very interesting so far, and I'm enjoying reading the way this story is written. I'm curious to find out if the author either has Asperger's or has experience with Asperger's. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research on the author himself because I'm curious where he's gotten his perspective from. Okay, so what I read is that Graeme Simsion did not intentionally create Don Tillman to be a person who has Asperger's syndrome. He was patterning this character off of people that he worked with, friends that he had. He actually did have a friend who did create sort of a wife project, and these were all people that he knew that were sort of geeks, is what he called them. None of them were ever diagnosed with autism, and his intention wasn't necessarily to create Don Tillman as a character with Asperger's. However, as the series went along and he did more research into Asperger's, and apparently he did talk to the Asperger Society. I don't know too much about that because, you know, there's differing opinions. There are definitely people who are either really, really offended by his portrayal, or people with autism who are like, you know, it's silly and it's kind of stereotypical but not really reflective of different people within the Asperger's community. So I see differing viewpoints on this. I think once he went further along in this series and started doing research on Asperger's, that's when he started kind of solidifying Don Tillman as a character with Asperger's and discusses it more further within the series. I listened to the Bookshop on the Corner quite a bit yesterday, and I definitely have a favorite when it comes to the love interest. You know, she's talking, of course, about Merrick. He's like the guys from her books that she finds sexy and wonderful. But Lennox, the farmer on the farm that she's living on, he's way much more practical, especially as a partner. She helps him deliver some baby lambs, and they go to this dance. She's focused on her books, going from place to place, trying to sell them, and I love that because I love me some books. Okay, so I didn't really find too many quotes that I felt would be really good for talking about feel-good moments in the Art of Happiness today, but there is this one section where Dalai Lama's teaching a meditation about compassion, a meditation as to how to feel more compassion, and he's talking a genuine general compassion. He means like compassion for humankind. During this 5-minute meditation, you would visualize someone who is struggling, and then you try to relate it to yourself and try to think of how you would feel if you were in that moment of suffering. Try and experience the actual feelings of that suffering so that you can relate to the other person. And then you try to allow your natural response to arise, a natural feeling of compassion towards that person. Ultimately, your goal in this meditation is to arrive at the conclusion, thinking how strongly you wish for that person to be free from suffering, and resolve that you will help that person to be relieved from their suffering. And it doesn't necessarily mean help them, like save them. It means like you can just be that support system that they need in that moment. I think it's a great meditation, especially if you feel you struggle with compassion. I'm just about halfway in this book, and it's definitely a lot of little tidbits like that. It's not a self-help book. But there are moments of conversation around what could make people happier. I forgot to tell you what my feel-good moment was yesterday. Right before going to bed, I gave my feet a wonderful pampering while I was listening to the Bookshop on the Corner. I did some scrubs, and I used a foot mask, and it was really, really nice. I don't have video for you because I think that would be pretty creepy. So... But that was my feel-good moment. I was like, man, I haven't really done anything for myself all day. And then I was like, you know what I need to do that I haven't done in a while that will feel really nice and relaxing? And so I did. And it was really lovely. It was lovely to listen to my book while I was taking care of myself. And that was a really nice way to end out the day. Good morning. It's day 7, and we had some crazy wind last night. Like, it was really, really crazy. I mean, we get really bad wind out here anyways, but luckily there were no trees on the house when we woke up this morning. That's always a positive note because we have giant trees out here. We get really like gusts up to 60-70 miles an hour out here sometimes, and it can get pretty creepy. Yesterday was a good day. I actually did exercise. I did a upper arm workout. It was really good. I haven't done that in a while, and my muscles are like, you know, whoa, we're here. You still have us. So that was good. Okay, so I'm about 50% of the way through the Bookshop on the Corner and also about 50% of the way through, a little over 50% of the way through the Rosie project. Has anybody read The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan? Did you get the Pride and Prejudice feelings from this? Because, I mean, Nina's a very different type of Lizzie Bennet. However, when she's around Lennox, gets kind of hard-headed and starts pushing back quite a bit. Lennox reminds me of Mr. Darcy because he's grouchy and you know, he doesn't approve of what she's doing or who she is. Merrick sort of reminds me of Wickham, like that charming, too good to be true sort of guy. And I'm wondering if because this is a book about books and she mentions a lot of the books that she loves in this, that the author wanted to kind of make it sort of retelling. And it's perfect because it's preparing me for my Pride and Prejudice journey. And then I'll watch my favorite BBC Pride and Prejudice show, which I should start right now because that is a feel-good show for me. Oh, it just makes me so happy. If you haven't seen the BBC version with Colin Firth, you'll never be the same. It's so amazing. Okay, so the Rosie project. At this point, it's interesting to see how Don is coping with his project and then now his sub-project and the sub-sub-project. He's met this woman named Rosie who's completely unacceptable as a partner, but he's just having a lot of fun working on these other projects with her, like her father's project. He's finding that he's having a lot of fun with this, and he's starting to make really irrational decisions based off emotions, which is not typically how he likes to handle things because it's completely impractical. What I did like about this, though, is that in a lot of ways he's normalizing Asperger's syndrome. He's making this character normal in the eyes of a lot of people who have opinions about Asperger's, because he actually does like a seminar on Asperger's even though he doesn't realize he has it. The people in the audience are like, well, we just want our kids to be normal. During his presentation, he's like, well, why? How they're seeing and thinking and feeling is beneficial to them, so why would you want them to be normal when this is actually a beneficial thing? Like, it's not a bad thing. There could be moments where this is problematic because he's not someone who is Asperger's relaying a story about a character who has Asperger's. However, I do like the attempt to normalize something that people struggle with. It's nice to see people in this story accepting Don for the way he is and not trying to change him and not trying to shame him for something that he can't help. He doesn't have a choice as to the way he thinks or feels or behaves, and he shouldn't have to. This is who he is. This is how he's developed. And so it's very possible that that's really naive of me, and I was somewhat naive on the subject, so I can understand that, and maybe it is really disrespectful, but I kind of feel like there are good things in this. Let's go back into The Art of Happiness and see what I found. Okay, so this isn't really a sentence, but it's this section where they're talking about the enemy and shifting your perspectives, and how the Dalai Lama thinks you should embrace your enemy because that is the only time in a relationship that you're actually truly going to grow as a person, because you're having to learn tolerance and patience. Even though we can't stand our enemies because they make us very angry, we need to try and change our perspective on this and accept that without these enemies, we would just be this person that doesn't really have a chance to grow emotionally because we don't have things challenging us. We don't have someone to help us test our patience, test our tolerance, give us an opportunity to really understand what it feels like to be angry so we know how to change that feeling, how to improve it. And I thought that was clever because I've always thought it was important to change our perspective on things, and it can be really hard. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm good at it, I just know that it's important to do. And it's not to say that you need to okay that behavior by that other person, but the only person that you end up really hurting in the long run is yourself, because you're going through so much agony and frustration and anger, and you hold on to it, and it's really, really unhealthy. And being able to recognize that anger and frustration and agony, but then trying to learn different techniques and ways to work through it and to be stronger because of it, I think that that's really beneficial. So I really like that section. I thought it was very useful. Maybe not necessarily feel good, but working on it could end up leading to more feel good moments. So today's work day, I don't really have any other plans yet today except for that and finishing that essay that I've worked on, but I haven't finished it. That's due Friday. It's gonna be a nice day actually, and so I think I'm going to take my dog out for a walk, because here in Washington, if you get nice days, you try and take them. Feel good thing for the day? I don't know. It's kind of hard to just find independent feel-good things to do. Not that there aren't a lot of feel-good things to do, it's just that the things that I would normally have done in the past that would make me feel good would be like reading or watching a show that I love. And those are things that we do a lot more now that we've been quarantined. So it's like, what do I do? I mean, it was nice to pamper my feet the other night. It was nice to get gifts from friends. What kind of things do you like to do when you want to feel good? I could do like a facial or something like that. I don't know what I feel like today. I'm a little tired today.
Look at that little girl smiling. She's so happy. Cece's having a feel-good moment. Look at her. She's like practically grinning.
Still?
Okay, so it is day 8 and I am finished. I'm actually finished. My feel-good project is coming to an end because I finished my books last night. Yes, I stayed up too late. Do I feel bad about that? No. But I had a lot of fun finishing both books that I was working on yesterday. So I finished The Bookshop on the Corner, and that's an audiobook. That was a lot easier to finish because I was able to do physical things while I was listening to it. And it was such a fun read. It was really enjoyable. I love books. And it was really nice to see how this character was creating a life around something she loved so much. And the romance was a lot of fun. It was super sweet and cute and interesting. It's definitely interesting. Like I said, it gives me Pride and Prejudice vibes for sure. An amazing setting. Any book set in Scotland is okay by me if you ask me. I just love Scotland. It's so beautiful and makes me want to go back. Most of these books that I read really gave me travel yearnings. I was like, man, I miss traveling. So come on, COVID, get over yourself because Amy needs to travel. Then the second book that I finished late into the evening last night, which was such a fun, cute, endearing story. I really enjoyed the characters a lot. I probably liked Dawn more than I liked Rosie, but still, I liked their dynamics. And I think the point was that no one should have to change themselves to fit into society, to be something else for anybody. And I really like that message. I think that's a really important message. And I enjoyed this book. And so that's really it. I'm not done with The Art of Happiness yet. I'm close. I'm right here. I do have a bit of a quote, I think. A tree with strong roots can withstand the most violent storm, but the tree can't grow roots just as a storm appears on the horizon. The point that the Dalai Lama was trying to make with this was that we need to prepare ourselves at all times for those moments that are going to be rough. We need to create these learning opportunities that we become stronger. And so when we do actually face grief and pain, we're not completely blindsided by it. And he's not trying to say that you should wallow in grief all the time so you can handle it better later. It's more of like we need to prepare for these things so that when the inevitable happens, we will face grief at some time in our life. When the inevitable happens, we won't be completely surprised and we won't be trying to create ways of dealing with them at that point. Because when you're in that moment of grief, it's really hard to try and rationally think of how should I be handling this situation. But if you've kind of prepared yourself, if you've practiced this form of knowing the right ways to grieve or knowing how to handle your grief, then it won't be as painful when you do face grief. I mean, it'll still be very, very painful, but you at least won't feel completely lost. We might not be able to handle the amount of grief that we're in, but maybe we can recover from it more easily, or maybe we will have techniques or different things available to us, resources available to us, so that it doesn't weigh us down so heavy that we can't get through it. So that was awesome. And this book is really very interesting, and I'm thinking a lot about it. This is giving me a lot to think about, and I feel like it's giving me a good starting point. And so let's see, how did I finish my feel-good day yesterday? I didn't exercise, but I did start watching Pride and Prejudice, my favorite miniseries, favorite TV show, favorite movie, favorite thing ever, with Colin Firth and Jennifer L. And I watched the first 2 episodes, and it's just so good. And if you've never seen the BBC miniseries version of Pride and Prejudice, you're missing out because it is the best thing ever. I love the characters. It's so funny because I know that like 2 of the least favorite characters are Mrs. Bennet and Mr. Collins because they're so annoying and they're so disgusting in their behavior. And it just, I just love it so much. The actors that play those characters are so good at being so awful that they actually make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside because I can't stop laughing. You hate them so much that you love them. Well, I do. I can't. Those are like my favorite characters. I can't help it. They're so awful. Anyways, that was lovely. That was a nice way to finish out the evening last night. And then today, I am probably gonna do something, hopefully, it's a nice day, I should get out. I need to take Cece for a walk. I said I would do it yesterday, didn't I? But I didn't. So today, hopefully I can take little Cece for a walk. And then, my feel-good moment for today is that I'm gonna be starting Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. And the reason this is a feel-good, and kind of surprising that I would pick this for a feel-good, is that I'm reading this with my nephew Nathaniel because he's reading this for school. And so then once we've read our first chapter, Nathaniel and I are gonna have a Zoom call and we're gonna discuss it, and I'm really excited about it. And so I know it sounds really weird, but I'm super, super excited to read the first chapter and talk to Nathaniel about it. And hopefully, it'll help him kind of think about what he feels about the book so that he'll have an easier time discussing it with his class, because Steinbeck has some pretty heavy, deep themes. He's very, very deep guy. So this is it. My feel-good project has come to an end, and do I feel good now? I've had some really nice days in the last week, the last 8 days. There've been some really good, emotionally productive days. And I had fun reading. It was nice to read some books that were kind of lighthearted and fulfilled some of the things that I feel like I've been missing during this pandemic. So yeah, I would say it's been feel good. I've exercised more in the last week than I have in a little while, and I've enjoyed it. Yet the other day when I did the upper body workout was really just, I felt so empowered, so that was good. And I also know that it's really important to take moments out for ourselves to pamper, coddle, enjoy, because realistically, this is a hard time and we're going through a lot and we can't expect to just feel perfect all the time. So take the time out for you. Make sure that you take care of yourself because you are very important, and the people around you will really appreciate if you take care of yourself because it'll also make them feel better as well. So if you like this video, click the like button and subscribe so you can see more of my feel-good content, because hopefully I'll have some more feel-good content this month. I have some, yeah, I think the books I'm reading this month are not too dark and deep and sad. And also, let me know in the comment section down below what you've done for yourself recently that's really, really made you feel incredible. And thank you so much for watching.